Every hour in the United States alone, 5 human beings, just like you and I, commit suicide. What's even more shocking is that 4 of them are men, which means that in the next hour, in this country alone, 4 men will end their own life. The heartbreaking sting of suicide is a pain that many of us have experienced. You might even feel it in your gut or your heart right now. Maybe it was your father. Maybe it was your son, your brother, a coworker, a friend. Maybe even that hero on the big screen that you looked up to so much. The heartbreaking thing is that the solution to this epidemic is so simple and so obvious, yet it's often overlooked. In my work as a life and business coach for high-achieving men, I've worked with hundreds of men from all over the world, from the ages of 21 to 68. And regardless of age, race, income level, or sexual preference, their issues are often very similar. And the primary causes for these issues are lies. Lies that they learned when they were young, either directly or by modeling their parents. Lies that they learned from the ages of 0 to 7, when our subconscious mind takes everything it hears as truth and stores it as part of our created identity. Lies that are literally killing our men. And there are many of these lies, but today I'll share with you 3 of the biggest ones, and more importantly, a simple solution that will empower our men to ask for help. But first, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye a 5-year-old boy playing in a park, just running through the grass with a giant smile on his face and not a care in the world. Pure joy in human form. Suddenly he falls, trips, and skins his knee on the ground. Crying, he runs over to his mother, who he's known to have been his primary source of comfort and nourishment for his entire life. She's always been there for him, whether it was nursing him, feeding him, clothing him, holding him, or wiping away his tears. And as he reaches out for his mother's love that has comforted him so many times, she says, for the first time ever, "No more crying. You're a big boy now, and big boys don't cry." And this is lie number 1. Big boys don't cry. Because you see, in that moment, this young man makes a decision that will forever alter his life. He chooses to stop feeling. He shuts down a piece of his heart and becomes a little less human. Because you see, crying is just a thing that bodies do. It's just a natural bodily release, kind of like pooping. And you would never tell your 5-year-old son to stop pooping completely now that he's a big boy. So why on earth do we tell our young men to stop crying then? It's heartbreaking what we do to our boys, isn't it? With their hearts working at just a fraction of their capacity, these emotionally handicapped young men often turn cold, distant, angry, and jaded. Their friendships start to shift. They express themselves less and less, and they start to answer questions about how they're feeling with responses like, "Good," "I'm fine," or one of my old favorites, "I don't know." And sadly, we've seen the result of what happens when men are disconnected from their hearts. Countless crimes are committed by men all over the world who have lost that connection with themselves. Crimes like rape, domestic violence, assault, and murder are committed daily by men who have lost their way. Which brings us to lie number 2. But first, let's revisit our little boy who's now 12 years old. He's playing Little League Baseball, where he's learning life lessons on competition from his coach, like, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing." Taking that to heart, he wins countless awards and trophies all throughout college as a star athlete. And upon graduating college, he takes the same competitive spirit into the worlds of business and dating, where he views other men as his competitors. And this is lie number 2. Other men are my competitors. Because with this belief, a man will achieve and achieve and achieve and one day find himself running a vast empire without any real friends. Or he might take a different route and opt out of the competition altogether and bench himself on the sidelines of the game of life, which oddly leads to a similar result: no real friends. And as men, we desire the same level of depth and intimacy in our relationships as women. But so few of us are actually getting that because we see the other men in our life as competitors. In a 2004 study of social isolation by the American Sociological Review, researchers found that of all the people in America, adult, white, heterosexual men have the fewest friends. Interesting, isn't it? And I'm not one to downplay the joys of winning. I love to win. But where some men view other men as their competitors, I choose to see other men as my brothers. And I believe that together, we can co-create solutions to humankind's most challenging problems. But sadly, few men are operating at that level of awareness. So many of them are stuck playing the game of life without any real friendship to lean upon. Which brings us to lie number 3. And this last lie is really the nail in the coffin for our men today. So now our star college athlete is a father, a CEO, and a leader in his community. With 2 beautiful children of his own, hundreds of employees, and thousands of people connected to him electronically, he starts to feel a great deal of stress. And like many men just like him, the stress of being a provider, a leader, a father, and a husband becomes an unbearable burden to carry all alone. But he continues to walk that path alone because of this third lie. Real men don't ask for help. So today, most of us have these remarkable devices that support us in getting from point A to point B. I know I certainly used it getting here today, but not that long ago, men would find themselves lost much more often. Remember the stereotype from about 20 or 30 years ago? A man's driving, totally lost. His wife, sitting next to him, says, "Honey, let's stop at this gas station and ask for directions." Man shakes his head, just keeps driving. "Nah, I'll figure it out myself." So what's the stereotype? Men don't ask for directions. And not only do men not ask for directions, but men rarely ask for help. Why? Because asking for help is perceived as weak. And as men, we're supposed to be strong. So as a strong man continues to reject support, things go from bad to worse. His problems continue to build up inside of him like a walking pressure cooker. He numbs out with his vice of choice, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, porn, television, or social media. And he continues to move through the world with a fake smile on his face, despite a world of pain, suffering, and confusion going on inside. And what's the final result of this inability to ask for help? Maybe it's a midlife crisis. Maybe it's an affair. Maybe it's a heart attack. Or maybe it's just a dull and miserable life. And in the very worst case, he becomes one of the 4 men every hour who chooses to end his own life. No matter where his life will take him, the fact of the matter is that a man who is unable to ask for help will inevitably fail. So what's the solution to this problem? What can a man do to create a better world for him, for his family, and for our global family that we call humankind? Are you ready for it? It's really complicated. Ask for help. So the interesting thing is that some of the men in the audience right now are sitting in a space of confusion and fear. You can kind of see that deer in the headlights look, because they've literally forgotten how to do this anymore. So here's a simple 3-step process to support you in asking for help. 1, find a safe person to talk to. So this can be your life partner, a parent, a mentor, or a trusted friend, Or if you have the resources, it can be a coach like myself, a therapist, a counselor, or maybe even your employee assistance program at work. 2, share what you're feeling directly from your heart. So give yourself permission to be your full, unfiltered self. Share what's actually going on in your life, speaking from your direct experience. And use I statements like, I feel sad, I feel angry, or I feel scared to describe your internal landscape. And 3, use this magic phrase, will you help me? Because the reality of life is no one's going to help you unless you're willing to ask for help. So in closing, I'll model this for you to make it easier. From my heart to yours, I'm scared. I'm scared for the lives of our men, especially our leaders, our veterans, our first responders, our teenagers, and my father's generation of men who grew up in a much different time. I want them to hear this message and know that feeling their emotions is just part of being a human being, and that it's safe for them to ask for help. It breaks my heart that so many men are out there suffering in isolation. Some of them in so much pain that suicide starts to seem like a good option. And I know that life very well, because I too was once a man who came dangerously close to ending his life many, many times. And asking for help was the only way out. So, will you help me? Thank you.